This story is a story of how your David-type faith has to sometimes stand up against Goliath-type situations. This here is a story about my oldest son, Rakeem. Shh, don't say a word. One evening, while talking with my dad on the phone, I got an incoming call from my ex-wife. When I switched over, I could immediately hear she was crying and upset. This felt like the call that no parent wants to get. I asked her what was wrong. She said, "Your son has been shot." Suddenly, silence fell. I couldn't say a word. I just immediately looked to God and said, "Okay, well, I guess here it is, the real moment of truth." This was far greater than me having to face my own near-death experience. After all of my reading, studying, praying, meditating, even interceding for others, now it was my son that was in a situation. I knew faith-wise, in this moment, it was all or nothing. I began to feel if there was a blow that could spiritually destroy me, this might be the one. I asked her if he was okay and what had happened. She said he had gotten in an altercation with the guy, and the guy had pulled his gun and he was wounded in the neck, but he was alive. I said, "Wounded in the neck?" She said, "Yes, but he's been airlifted to the hospital and she would keep me posted." I said, "Okay," and we hung up. I then took a deep breath and got myself together. When I switched back over, I never said a word to my dad about his grandson. Some may think that's crazy, but I'll tell you why. I told him I would call him back the next day, and when I hung up, immediately I began to talk to God. I said, "Father, I'm choosing to talk to you first before I speak to anyone." I said, "You have brought me through every single thing I've faced, so I believe you will bring me as well as my son through this as well. I know that if I'm going to trust you, then I can't worry. I also know that if I'm going to worry, then that's not me trusting you. So I choose you, Father." At that very moment, a sense of peace just fell over me. Seriously, I can't begin to explain, but somehow I actually knew my son was going to be okay. Over the next 3 days, I didn't say a word to anybody outside of my wife as to what had happened to my son. I knew that if I was going to pray and truly intercede on his behalf, then I needed to stay totally in faith. Oftentimes when we talk too much, we're taken out of faith by our words as well as the words of others. I know many people have good intentions, but sometimes their response to life isn't conducive to the faith that we're trying to maintain. I knew it wouldn't take much time for my family to find out about my son, as they did over the next few days. I just didn't need all of the questions directed towards me at this point, because I had to stand in faith. A few family members didn't like my response to the whole situation, and I was okay with that. This wasn't the first time I had been spiritually misunderstood. I had grown accustomed to dealing with this from friends, families, and neighbors in the past, as you know. Sometimes faith has to come before everything and everybody, and I knew in this point, when it came to my son, that I had to stand in faith above everything else. As a result of my Father's grace, love, and mercy, my son pulled through pretty well. He lost partial use of his arm, which is a blessing when you consider where he actually was wounded at. Many times, I thought about bringing my son to Chicago, but I knew with all the gang banging and shooting going on, that was not a safe decision. Crazy enough, my son ended up getting into an altercation in North Carolina. This is why I believe in prayer, because our eyes can't see far enough, nor are our arms long enough to protect our kids from all the snares that lay at hand. Trust me, from day one, I've always tried to give my kids back unto the Father. Yes, I'm their dad, but God is their Father. Releasing my kids into His hands gives them a spiritual covering that I could never provide as a natural parent. funny enough, as a dad, I am always thankful that my children have a father. To my son Rakeem, I love you.